Morning, everyone. So again, my name is Austin. I'm one of the adventure therapists here at Sierra Tucson. If you've come here and then within the last 2 years, you've definitely seen me throughout the day leading these hikes. And honestly, the purpose of these hikes is what a wonderful way to just start off your day, right? And so you come to treatment, right? You wake up early in the morning, and just a beautiful way to start your day, just to see the beautiful scenery around here, waking up with the rising sun. There ain't nothing like it. And so this morning, if you're not familiar with this area, right, we are in the Sonoran Desert. And in the Sonoran Desert, we are now in late October, which means it's perfect timing to be outside. The heat of the summer is starting to wind down. The mornings are nice in the high 70s, approaching low 80s. Lovely this morning. We actually have a nice little overcast, which is going to be very helpful with seeing some of the great peaks that we have around here. And so let's take a moment real quick to just do a little 360 view so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And then we'll get going from there, folks. So enjoy the scene. Lovely, right? I can't complain when I come in early in the morning to lead these hikes. It's honestly one of my most excited things to do early in the morning. Just be able to come out here and just hear the sounds of nature. So, one of the most beautiful things as we were setting up is that we actually got to see 2 young female deers come on over here. They actually jumped over the fence and were right behind us here. If you've been here before, which I'm sure a lot of you have, while you have been here, at the end of the day, there's a lot of deer that tend to come on the field and tend to eat the grass. I want you to remember that moment, right? I've seen a lot of residents come out here with their blankets, ride some yoga mats, and just lay down and just enjoy the view. What a great way to end the day. So folks, here what we have happening right now to orient ourselves, we are here in the Sonoran Desert. We are in Pinal County. We are a little north of Tucson. And so here in the Sonoran Desert this time of year, things are starting to dry up a little bit. If you can see around me a little bit, for example, there's Ocotillo here. Now during its prime season, with a lot of moisture in the air and humid, the Ocotillo here has beautiful little round leaves that sprout out. In addition, at the very top, there are beautiful little red flowers that are quite lovely. A little historical fact is that back in the day, not only Native Americans, but also old school ranchers would use the Ocotillo as a form of creating a boundary. Because the beautiful thing about this perennial plant is that it can take growth with a single stem on the ground. So imagine having an entire boundary with just this plant here. And then during the season, having it bloom, just beautiful. In addition to that, just like the aspen, for those of you that are in higher elevations, particularly Colorado, just like the aspens, the Ocotillo also photosynthesizes through its bark, which means that it's able to produce its own energy. And in a dry climate like this, that's actually a fantastic adaptation to be able to thrive out here. In addition, around us, we have a barrel cactus right here. This one's actually one of the rare barrel cactus. For the reason being is that majority of them tend to have their needles sticking out. but this rare one actually has its needle sticking inward. Reason for that is a form of adaptation to protect itself. If anything were to get close to it and try to take a big old chunk out of itself, then it's able to hold that predator within. So when it tries to get out, it's actually continuously attacking. So lovely adaptation there. To the left of me and to the right, we have the good old classic prickly pear. Now, back in the day, growing up, I didn't know this, but I ate a lot of nopales, which are little nopalitos back in the day. And you would take this plant, you would cut it up, you would fry it, and you're good to go. It's that delicious. In addition, you can also create these little prickly pears that come on top. It's beautiful, it's red, and when it's in season and when it's ripe, that's actually edible. And you're able to create from syrup to sauces to all kinds of dressings for your salad. Can't complain about that, right? There's just so much beautiful going on here. Continuing along with the actual surrounding pieces here of the mountains. To my due west here, we have the Torlatillos. Going nice southwest, we have the Tucson Mountains. Furthermore, we have the Santa Ritas. And then a good 25, 30 miles south of that, we actually have the American-Mexican border. And right to our east, which is where the sun currently is hitting these jagged peaks, right? That is the Santa Catalina Range. If you were to look at the southern peak there, the one that kind of looks like a pyramid, if you're able to see that, that one is called Push Peak. Now, I've climbed a variety of mountains back in my day, and I gotta say, that one is probably one of the most formidable hikes I've been on. And so being able to look at it and say that, wow, I've done that, is a beautiful thing, because what I've noticed is that a lot of people, when they come to Sierra Tucson, they love the environment so much that they spend a few days here experiencing the area. So if you get a chance to, right, and if you already have, then what a great way to have a reminder of what this place is. Now, of course, the sun is blazing on us a little bit right now, so I'm sure you're seeing more of the actual outline of the ridges. If you can see it at the very top there, we have Mount Lemon, which is the peak, the highest peak in the Santa Catalina range, hitting at about 9,200 and some, give or take. Now, what's fantastic about the Santa Catalinas is that it's also known as a sky island, because there is such a drastic change in elevation out there. We have an entire ecosystem that's thriving on its own. I mentioned before, we have aspens, right? There's aspens up there. There's pine trees up there as well. In addition, there are junipers. Beautiful thing about the winter is that it even snows up there. And so let's take a moment to really appreciate what it is out there, what is beautiful about it as the sun is hitting us right now. Now, you may not be able to see this from your viewpoint, but from my viewpoint, looking at the Catalinas, we have the sun that is breaking through the clouds a bit, and its rays are hitting the ground in some of those peaks. Now, growing up, mi abuelita, my grandma, she would always tell me that when you see rays like that going through the clouds, hitting the earth and the mountains, those are known as los dedos de Dios. I'll say it again. Those are known as los dedos de Dios, which means God's fingers. God's fingers touching the earth and touching our souls. And something about that reminds me is that, you know, I didn't realize this until at this very moment, but the fact that every morning I would wake up early in the mornings with my grandma, and we would just wake up with the rising sun. And wow, a little epiphany for myself there. So folks, I'm gonna go ahead and walk in this direction here. Here's what many people have come interacted with. And I'm sure you remember who you are, because you were told not to play with this cactus, right? But I'm sure you still had to go and touch it or bump it. But this one is a cholla. This is one of the variety of chollas that we have here on campus. This one is also known as a jumping cholla. Reason for that is because one of this adaptations to survive out here is that it's quite loose. So if I were to take a simple rock and just nudge this little plant here, you can see it's easily coming undone. Reason for that, it's an adaptation for it to thrive and for it to clone itself, to make sure that the species survives. Now we have a lot of javelina that will come and actually eat some of these little flowers. They're not thriving just yet. It is that change of season, but javelinas have been known to eat this plant. If we come a little closer, we actually have some ants that are on this plant here and are actually looking for some of its juices. Noticing that right when I ripped off some of its pieces there, the juices opened up and the ants are now flourishing. Now this cholla is in its prime. This is one of the larger chollas that we have. And of course, there are even bigger ones as well. But what happens when a cholla has actually lived a prosperous life? What occurs? Well, just like everything else, it starts to decompose and goes right back into the earth, creating rich nutrients for the soil and the new up and coming plants that are also competing with other plants for resources. And so I'm going to show you now what an actual cholla looks like as it's towards the end of its life. We're going to walk in this direction, folks. And as we do so, please enjoy the scenery. We are now facing west. And as we're facing west, we have a bit more open space here. Here, folks, we have a cholla that is now coming towards the end of its life. It is starting to decompose. And when it does so, if you notice, it's no longer this vibrant, luscious green. And instead, some of the actual bark is falling apart. Here's the beautiful part, though. Not many people know this, but here we actually have the skeleton of a cholla. So this bark that we see here, these little holes that you see, that's the actual skeleton. In the prime of its existence, when it's flourishing, especially during the hot summer months, someone who goes by the name of Chris Sharp, who is a whole lot smarter than me when it comes to the natural beauty of this area, shared with me that these holes here that we see, they close up. Just like any other succulent that is out there, these holes close up so that it can hold its water, it can hold its nutrients, and not lose those during the heat of the day. And as the temperatures start to drop at the end of the day, during dusk and dawn, right, then they start to open up. And that's when this plant really, really starts to bloom and expand and grow. Now keep using these words interchangeably, but everything around here is all about adaptation, right? It's all about being able to survive in a dry climate area that gets very little water. And these are one of the simple adaptations that this plant has come to and has evolved and has created, and I find it to be quite magnificent. Now, I mentioned that we are in the Sonoran Desert. Has anyone noticed that the good old classic saguaro is not around us? All right, we've done a 360 a few times now, but there are no stall tending classic saguaros that have like the large arms and whatnot, right? Reason being for that is because we are 300 feet higher in elevation, 300 feet. That small little subtle difference is a difference that makes a difference for these plants. Now, if you have come across one and you have come on our hikes and we've gone off site, right, and you've seen some of those and we've gone lower in elevation, you have come across those, right? Now, we've seen some that are tall but don't have their arms yet. Reason for that is that they will not get those classic wide arms until they are about a roughly 50 years old, maybe a little bit more. It all depends on how great that monsoon season was, how much rainfall it's gotten during the winter. Everything around here is about how it's able to thrive with water and how the subtle difference in elevation makes a big change for all these plants around here. Crazy, wild, and yet beautiful, subtle. Folks, during your time here, I bet you've come across some form of natural life form out here. I'm sure some of you have seen some of the amazing rattlesnakes that we have here, maybe a king snake. Maybe some of you have been privileged enough to see a javelina. I'm sure y'all have seen a bunch of deer. They go to our field, they drink, they drink the horse's water, and they tend to have security here because they're constantly going to the field. But as you've noticed, as we've been looking around here, right, there's not a lot of life form at this current moment. Again, everything around here thrives on energy. Everything around here thrives on water. And so, because of that, and knowing that it gets so hot during the day at times, a lot of these creatures are known as crepuscular creatures, which is just a fancy way of saying that they are most active during dusk and dawn. Diurnal, which is what we humans are active during the day. And then of course we have the classic nocturnal. Now, when you wake up in the morning and you're getting ready to go to your classes and your lectures and your process groups, right, you will always see signs of them. We may not always see the ones that we want to see, like a bobcat, right? But we will always see signs of them, which means that we just need to make sure that when we are able to and have some downtime, to really appreciate when we have those encounters. They don't happen often. But if you are able to wake up in the morning early enough, find yourself a good spot with your cup of coffee, because by that time you're already, 5 coffees in normally, right? Really enjoy it. And that's one of the beautiful things about coming to Sierra Tucson, especially in my opinion, during the fall and the spring, is that when the seasons start to change, right? The encounters you have with these wildlife change as well. You've already had 2 deers come up here. I'm curious though. I am curious to see when we will see another young buck. I led a hike on Friday. We went off site. And when we did so, towards the end of it, we came across 2 young bucks. And each of those young bucks had a nice solid 6-pointer type. I'm losing words for them already. Say so much, you know. But yeah, they have those 6-pointers. Beautiful creatures. that's one of the amusing things about being able to come out here and engaging on these morning hikes. It's not only the morning hikes as well, right? If you're a runner, right, you've already been on our track. You've already been running around. You've already had your own encounters with them. And so I encourage you to really think back. And when you were waking up that early in the morning, what encouraged you to wake up? What was so powerful about wanting to get your workout in? What was so important to you about making sure that you had some time to yourself? In these troubling times, not many people can say that they can go out and engage in such activities. And so I encourage you to discover, what is it that makes you happy? What is it that brings encouragement to your life? I found mine. We're standing in it. We're recording it. That has helped me in my recovery. And I'm very thankful for that. And thankful to provide that for others. And so with that, folks, enjoy the view. Enjoy the scenery. I want to thank you for your time. I want to make sure that I want to give a shout out to all those that were involved in making this happen for you all. It's a long list of names. I'm not going to go through all of them. But that is why we're here today, because of them. Folks, again, my name is Austin Sandoval, the adventure therapist here under the experiential team. And I wish you the best in these hard, difficult times.